Hey, 2 coffees. Even someone without a proper education can handle that, right? Sebastian smirked as he looked at me. Today was the day he brought his fiancée over to meet the family. He was proud of his elite background, graduated from a top university, worked at a big company, and now he was treating me like the help, ordering me around in my own home. Sebastian, my soon-to-be brother-in-law, laughed mockingly while his fiancée stayed silent. Or maybe she simply couldn't respond, she didn't speak English. She was a stunning Asian woman with long black hair and dark eyes. Sitting beside him, she looked to Sebastian for a translation. I smiled gently at her. I'm Karen, 28 years old, working part-time as a homemaker. After graduating from a local high school, I joined a construction company where I worked for nearly 10 years. That's where I met Ash, my future husband. He was 2 years older, kind-hearted, and always looked out for me. Despite his large build, people often misjudged him as intimidating, but he was one of the gentlest people I knew. Working in a male-dominated industry with a conservative company culture was tough, but Ash, who was my supervisor back then, always had my back. His quiet strength drew me in, and eventually, I confessed my feelings to him. We've been together ever since, with very few problems. I was genuinely happy and looking forward to our marriage after this family meeting. Ash's family included his mother, Bridget, and his older brother Sebastian. Their father had passed away when Ash was a child, and Bridget raised them on her own, working long hours. When I first met her, the deep lines on her face showed how much she had been through. When Ash asked if I'd be willing to live with his mom after marriage, I didn't hesitate. I liked her, she had always treated me like the daughter she never had. Bridget hosted the family meeting with grace and warmth. I was a bit nervous since Ash is shy, but Bridget smiled when she saw him bring me home and said, "Life really is full of surprises." Ash blushed and told her to cut it out. Seeing their close relationship reassured me. But then there was Sebastian. He looked like Ash, but personality-wise, they couldn't be more different. When I introduced myself as Ash's fiancé, Sebastian gave me a once-over, openly judging me. Then came the real insult. Figures Ash would choose someone with no real education. You look pretty plain. I was shocked. I had just met this man, and he was already insulting me like that. I felt my face burn with anger. He seemed to enjoy it, smirking at my reaction. Before things could get worse, Ash and Bridget returned with coffee and snacks. Ash sat beside me while Bridget and Sebastian sat across from us. As Bridget and I chatted, Sebastian kept butting in. You went to that high school? Isn't that the one with the worst college admission rates? Didn't you think about your future? He chuckled. Guess women without degrees aren't worth much these days. Good thing Ash doesn't seem to care. I'd never date someone like that. Talking to someone dumb might make me dumb too. I hadn't gone to college because I wanted to help my family. I didn't love school, but my high school gave me practical business skills, and I landed a decent job straight out. I worked hard to support my much younger brother and even helped my parents financially. My brother's dream was to become a teacher, so I made sure he had the chance to go to university. Ash had been there through it all. He knew me inside and out, and he would have loved me even if I hadn't finished high school. So why did Sebastian look down on me? I knew he worked at a big firm and had an impressive resume. Bridget once told me how hard he'd studied, how he earned scholarships and sent money home for 10 years after graduating from a top university in LA. I respected all that, but the way he treated me with smug superiority was hard to forgive. Maybe he resented the sacrifices he made, and that bitterness came out as arrogance. Telling myself that made it a little easier to brush off. Just a little. Sebastian, knowing I wouldn't lash out as Ash's wife, grew bolder with his arrogance. Karen, if you're just going to sit there, why not clean the front entrance? You know Mom's back isn't great. Or, these sweets you buy are way too sugary. You're not young anymore, get something more suitable for your age. Bridget always stepped in to defend me. Karen, don't worry about that. You're not here just to do housework. Relax and enjoy being part of the family. But when she wasn't around, Sebastian would push more chores on me, sometimes even asking me to clean his room. I hated it, but I didn't want to cause tension with Bridget over him, so I bit my tongue and endured it. It often felt like he treated me as an outlet for his frustration, as if I were a failed maid instead of a family member. After a while, I stopped reacting altogether. I figured if I ignored him, maybe he'd lose interest. Then one day, he announced he wanted to introduce his fiancée. I didn't really care, but a part of me hoped it meant he'd finally stop bothering me. When he brought her over, he was clearly proud. Her name was Mina, absolutely stunning, like someone out of a magazine. She was 3 years younger than me, but she carried herself with grace and confidence. They'd met through work. I had to admit, Sebastian really did work at a high-level company. I was surprised to hear him speak fluent Chinese, considering how clumsy his English could be at times. Mina was sweet and polite. She knew a little English, enough for us to have a pleasant conversation. I liked her. But of course, Sebastian couldn't leave things alone. "Mina, this is my brother's wife," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "I look after her a lot, but she holds a grudge because she thinks her lack of education makes her inferior to me. Don't worry, you won't have to deal with her much." Bridget and Ash were visibly stunned. I barely caught the full weight of his insult at first, but once I did, the sting was sharp, making it sound like I was petty, uneducated, and beneath him. It was humiliating. Still, I didn't want to ruin the moment for Mina, so I held back. And then he said something worse. "Karen, why don't you try greeting Mina in Chinese? You're family now, after all. Show us something impressive, despite your background." Ash and Bridget both snapped at him, telling him to take it back, but I raised my hand and stopped them. "You can continue the story here if you'd like. I'm happy to help you write the next part too." Ignoring Sebastian's smug look, I turned to Mina and started speaking in Chinese. She looked surprised at first, then broke into a delighted smile. Sebastian, on the other hand, was clearly caught off guard. He stared at us, speechless and confused. As I kept talking, Mina's expression slowly changed. The smile faded, replaced by a cold glare directed right at Sebastian. He started to panic. "What are you saying? Are you bad-mouthing me?" "No, not at all," I replied calmly. "I just told her the truth about you, Sebastian." Even after our conversation ended, Mina kept glaring at him. When he reached out to calm her down, she smacked his hand away. Her anger was clear. Ash turned to me, surprised. "Karen, you speak Chinese?" I nodded. "A little. I used to work part-time as a guide for foreign tourists when I first started working. The pay wasn't great, but I took the job through a friend to help cover my expenses. The company banned side jobs after tourist season, so I never talked about it. Guess it came in handy today." Suddenly, Sebastian jumped in, desperate to discredit me. "Wait, the Chinese you used, it wasn't real, right? You were just making stuff up." I sighed. "Why would I do that?" "Because those words don't even exist. You're just confusing Mina with your nonsense." If she was confused, we wouldn't have had such a smooth conversation. I used words she's familiar with, and it worked. Sebastian was probably upset because I used casual or slang terms. He'd only learned stiff, formal Chinese, more like something from a business textbook, not everyday speech. No wonder it sounded strange to him. Still, accusing me of making it all up. I glanced at Mina. Maybe he had always spoken to her like he was giving a business presentation. Mina gave me a small, awkward smile, then turned back to Sebastian with another furious glare. Sebastian clicked his tongue, red in the face. He crossed his arms and glared at me. "What exactly did you tell her?" I gave a small smile. "Just that you already have a main girlfriend, and you're using Mina as your side piece." "What?" Sebastian's face turned ghostly white. He looked like he'd just been hit with a brick. I hadn't meant to find out. He told me to clean his room, and while sorting his messy shelf of self-help books and work documents, I found a handmade photo album. It was clearly a gift from someone, full of cozy, couple-like pictures. Even though I didn't like him, I normally wouldn't snoop, but he gave the order, and I was just doing what he asked. The album had a photo right on the cover of him kissing a woman on a Ferris wheel, not exactly something he tried to hide. The woman wasn't Mina. She had light hair and looked American, judging from the other similar albums on the shelf. This relationship had been going on for a while. He already had a girlfriend, and yet he got engaged to someone like Mina, probably just to show off that he was dating a beautiful Asian woman. If Bridget or Ash had found out, maybe he could have explained his way out of it, but dragging me into it, big mistake. After I explained everything, his girlfriend, his lies, and his attitude, Mina finally saw him for who he really was, a fraud, using her for image while acting like a bully behind the scenes. She stood up and confronted him. Her voice was sharp, her anger intense. Sebastian looked terrified. Even worse, he clearly couldn't keep up with her fluent Chinese. Panicking, he tried to grab her hand and explain himself. She slapped it away and stormed out. He never saw it coming. After Mina stormed out, Sebastian grabbed me by the collar. "How dare you? Was that your idea of revenge?" he yelled, his face twisted with rage. Before I could respond, Ash and Bridget stepped in. Ash pulled Sebastian back, and Bridget, usually calm and composed, raised her voice with tears in her eyes. "You've crossed the line, Sebastian. You treat women like they're beneath you, and insulting Karen in front of everyone, that's unforgivable. I don't care if you're family, you're no longer my son." Sebastian's face fell. Her words hit him hard, shoulders slumped. He let himself be led away. Not long after, he was officially kicked out of the house. Once things calmed down, Bridget came to me, looking deeply apologetic. "I'm so sorry, Karen," she said quietly. I didn't know what to say. Her expression was full of regret. After a moment, she sighed heavily. "We need to stop living together for now. This is still the family home, and we don't know when Sebastian might come back. After everything that happened, I'm afraid he might try to take it out on you." She covered her face with her hands, clearly overwhelmed. And just like she feared, Sebastian started lurking around. He'd show up at odd hours, yelling at the gate or trying to force his way inside. We called the police, but they dismissed it, saying it wasn't unusual for a family member to try coming home. Ash and I didn't wait for things to get worse. We packed quickly and moved out. Months passed. Our lives slowly returned to normal. Then one day, I got a call from Bridget. She had news about Sebastian. After we left, Sebastian stopped coming around and things spiraled for him. It turned out Mina, whose real name was Maya, was the daughter of a major client at Sebastian's company. When her father learned that she'd been cheated on by a low-level employee, he cut all business ties with the company. Sebastian was demoted. Word of the affair spread at work, and his longtime girlfriend broke up with him. Humiliated, he quit soon after. He tried getting another job using his basic Chinese, but clashed with younger co-workers some 10 years younger and was fired again. Over the next few months, he bounced from one job to another. His arrogance made it hard for anyone to work with him. He even insulted the staff at the job center and was told not to come back. Eventually, broke and desperate, Sebastian asked Bridget if he could move back in. She didn't hesitate. "I chased him off with a broom," she told me over the phone. I couldn't help but laugh. He lingered outside her house for a while but eventually disappeared. We later heard that he'd started lying about his education and career to impress financially stable women. He moved in with them and lived off their money, cheating on them when they weren't around. How someone like Sebastian kept finding women is still a mystery. Maybe he knew how to target a certain type. Ash has completely cut ties with him. He acts like Sebastian doesn't exist, and honestly, that's probably for the best. On the brighter side, Mina and I stayed in touch and actually became friends. Because of her work, she doesn't visit the US often, but we talk regularly online. She once told me, "It's a waste for someone as fluent as you not to use your Chinese." Thanks to her, I got introduced to a few interpretation jobs. I had to brush up on business Chinese, but I've always loved the language, so I didn't mind. Now, I'm doing work I enjoy, using my skills more than I ever did before, and living a much more satisfying life. Strangely enough, it was Sebastian who pushed me onto this new path, so in a way, I guess I have him to thank for it.